Good morning. I wanted to record some thoughts. Been trying to wrap my head around how to say and what to say, what I want to say. The really kind of boils down to I have different thoughts for different audiences. I share you this message from my sukkah. It is after Sukkot. I am back from the 8th day gathering with Midegah. I just feel like this is an appropriate setting to sit and talk with you. So, to my friends that have left the church, the traditional Salt Lake-based church, and you're part of a remnant group, you still believe the Book of Mormon, you believe the prophecies. Midegah's message is fascinating. I have some very specific things that I disagree with doctrinally, but that's the same disagreements I have with you. I love you. I've had many conversations with many different people, and what he's saying should resonate with you. And I am very comfortable with the fact that I might be wrong, and I look forward to seeing the fruits if I'm wrong, because that's how I'm going to know I'm wrong. So by all means, look into him and lean in. If it's of God, it's going to do a great work, and it'll be exciting to see. I'm comfortable with that. Now, to my traditional Salt Lake-based LDS friends, my people, this is who I am. I don't look it, and it's hilarious to see different people's reactions, but that's another story. There's probably somebody out there. There's a story that's pretty funny about somebody treating me in a certain way that might be listening to this video and just laughing because they realized that it was me. But that's fine. So, I'm not offended. I love you. Okay, just say that. To my people, to me, this is my perspective, is I have a video on this channel that is stay or go. This is my perspective despite the problems that I see within us as a people. I'm really not happy about the changes of the temple. I think it's really unfortunate that we're taking many of the lessons out of the temple. But ultimately, it is God's sign to us, and God is working with us and teaching us through the temple. And yes, the church leadership has the authority to make those changes. I'm not saying they don't have that authority. One of the biggest blessings in my life was having a bishop that, the best way to say it is bad bishop. Like, he wasn't doing me any favors. Okay? Like, this brought to my awareness the fact that you can have leadership struggle, but still be God's people. Okay? So, thank you, Bishop. You probably are laughing. Actually, I probably have all my bishops thinking that was them. Now, like, everybody struggles in their own way. Like, let's just be honest. But that's okay. Like, that's part of the purpose. So, like I said, I'm very comfortable with struggling. I'm very comfortable with our leaders struggling, but still being our leaders. So that video explains my perspective. That challenge I can support through scripture, and essentially after the meeting, we were gathered in this little lodge thing, and some people were gathered, and we were talking through some of these issues. Another man overheard some of my things that I was trying to convey. Granted, not doing a very good job. And he talked to me in the parking lot after. And we talked till good night, probably 2 a.m. We were the last 2 cars to leave the parking lot. Like, it was late, it was cold, we were tired, he was kind. Now, he was challenging me, he was sharing with me his perspective. Some of what I was saying, he agrees with. Like, he thinks that Mida has some things wrong, but he's growing into light and truth. Now, great. Like the restoration, Joseph Smith, I'm comfortable with the fact that some of the things he didn't have all the way figured out, and that's okay. So that fits my paradigm, and I pray for Midegah to grow in light and truth. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But right now, he has a purpose and a message that is gathering people. So part of that message and that gathering is God's working with people where they're at, and his perspective is talking to people where they're at. By all means, go for it. So, interesting insight. I asked him about another thing, and he shared with me that well, the purpose of this video isn't to rehash everything. Actually, no, it's important for you to know. So, one of my challenges to people on the perspective that I have is essentially the question is what are we responsible within the law of Moses for? There's statements within the law of Moses that you're supposed to do forever. So, for instance, build a sukkah. If you're in Israel, you are under a requirement to do it. Hello, Mabel. Oh, there's Mabel. So, we can be kind to animals, Midegah. Not everything's bad, right? I don't like mosquitoes, but I like animals. They like me. I'm kind. Believe it or not, people that know me, like, as a kid, this is laughable. Okay? So, we will move Mabel along. Sorry, that was just funny. I am trying to share with you the perspective of responsibility for action within the law of Moses. This was clearly the debate within the New Testament. Paul was very clearly arguing because his audience is Gentile, okay? His audience was not Israel. That was other apostles' responsibilities. So, he was a messenger to the Gentiles, and he is clearly saying the works of the law are death. Why is it death? Why is he also saying the law is gold, it is good? I have every advantage because of the law. Like, I keep the law because of the flesh type things. Wow. Well, it's because he's responsible to the law. But you Gentiles are not responsible for the law. You have a blessing and an opportunity to live it, or to learn from it is what I'm saying, while I, as Israel, live it. I am your sign. I am the play, the action that you can look to and learn from. That's the way that I would sum up Paul. Okay? Now you can see this as you go into Acts and see the council in Jerusalem. The debate about who keeps the law it's represented as circumcision, but essentially they were talking about works of the law. Now he argues that it shouldn't be kept. Interesting enough, the council decides that it's needful that they keep 4 things. Those 4 things are the Noah covenant rules. It's in the same order as they're given in Genesis. That's not by accident, okay? So very significant. Well, if you keep reading, Paul just argued that it's not important to keep the law of Moses, specifically circumcision. Next chapter, there's a man that Paul circumcises, okay? So Paul's arguing that it's not needful. Meanwhile, he goes to Jerusalem and then, I don't want to be graphic, but he does something, a grown man circumcises him with your own hands because it's not important and it's death. Like, what are you doing, Paul? It's this like craziness within the way that people talk about the law of Moses. And Paul did it because he wants to make people happy. He was just arguing the chapter before in this big council. Why is it all of a sudden so important that he makes people happy and comfortable? Because he's understanding their culture. No, Paul is not that person. Like, this is misattributing Paul. Like, he's a firebrand. He's not going to do something that's not right just to make you happy. Okay? So, let's read very carefully what he did and why he did it. What it is it says, his mother was a Jewess. Every word in Scripture is intentional. That little portion about the man that was circumcised is intentional. What it is in the law of Moses, your responsibility to keep the law is based on your matrilineal birth. Okay? If your mom was a Jewess, you're a Jew. Period. So, this convert, he has responsibility to circumcise, to be circumcised. Hello. So that's my debate, is, well, Midegah, why aren't you telling people, if you're proclaiming so clearly that you're Israel, why are you not talking about building a sukkah, keeping 7th-day Sabbath? Like, these things, if you're full, responsible Israel, in my mind, you must keep. Now, traditional LDS, why do I build it? I don't build it because I'm a required. I build it because, like, I'm seeking to learn from it. There is lessons to this pattern, this metaphor that God's given, and I want to teach my children. Okay, and I want to be taught, and I am every year. I am taught by the Spirit. I learn something every time, and I'm grateful for the light that I'm able to grow in because of my desire and my keeping very hideously anything in the law. Okay, so I'm kind of rambling, but another example of how this plays out is with the Samaritan woman and the Samaritans. Jesus clearly does not correct them within the law of Moses. This man I was talking to understood the argument. Like, he gets it. So his answer, though, was that the Samaritans were not in any way, shape, and form Israelite blood. Okay? Mine has been, they are mixed blood Israel, voila, like us, and therefore, when she was actually asking a law-specific question, Jesus did not correct her to keep the law of Moses. Well, now this is where this man and I are both right. Like, he didn't correct her because she did not have a responsibility to keep the law of Moses. This man is on the side of, hey, like, regathered Israel, church included, have a responsibility to be keeping the law of Moses. Now, I'm on the side of, you're not, the mixed bloods are not Israel yet. We are Ephraim and Manasseh for a reason. Ephraim his mom was Egyptian. He was mixed blood. His matrilineal lineage did not have him within the requirement of circumcision or the covenant given through Abraham at this point. But what happened is Jacob, the father, laid his hands on him and adopted him as full blood, full inheritance Israel. That's the moment I'm watching for. I do believe that we are set and staged to be Israel. Right now we're in the process of feeding, preparing, but Jacob is not fully aware that Joseph is here and feeding. That's the way I see it. Midegah believes that we are. Okay, so why are we not living the law? That's the debate. So actually, whoops, hold on. I didn't connect something. Sorry, I'm rambling. Cat distracted me. We love her anyways. So this man, his challenge to me though was, your argument, it doesn't fit with the Samaritans because the Samaritans were not in any way, shape, and form Israel blood at all. And I'm like, source, and he said the Mishnah. The thing that's so cool about today is really, honestly, if somebody would have said to me Mishnah 20 years ago, there's no way I could have really sought that out, sourced that out. I don't know a rabbi that knows the Mishnah that well. I do, kind of, but it's a really obscure question. And to ask somebody to source that, that's hardcore, right? So, but we live in a world where we have AI that can search written records very accurately. okay? Having it come to thoughts about what's written, not so reliable, but to say, hey, where in this book, are you aware of this group of writing? Are you aware of the Mishnah? Can you be an expert for me on the Mishnah? And it said, yes, and tells me about the Mishnah. I'm like, great. Can you tell me about Samaritans within the Mishnah? Yes, it gives the sources. I'm like, okay, nowhere in the sources within the Mishnah does it say anything about the Samaritans being pure blood, anything else. It does say, and I questioned it, okay, because the Mishnah is dealing with legal issues, just different. You go ahead and look it up yourself. But I said, somebody was telling me that it talks about them being not of Israel. I've heard they're intermarried, blah, blah, I can't remember the whole discussion, right? But it said, no, the Jewish sources, like oral tradition, has that they are intermarried. So I was right. And nowhere in the Mishnah does it say I was wrong. I can source this. I'm grateful to the direct challenge, but I'm sorry to say I was right. Because honestly, in some ways, I'd prefer your answer. It'd be simpler. Nope. So, here we are, waiting for clarity as a people, waiting to be fully adopted in. Okay, cool. Meanwhile, we have Midegah doing his thing. So, as a within the church Ephraimite that believes that one day blessings will be made clear, blah, 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 blah. What do I do? So here's the thing that struck me, is wife and I, great time, great conversation with all the time we're able to spend. And, we're talking about lots of different things. And one thing that struck us was the realization that we've had many times where we have loved ones, acquaintances at times, that are clearly participating in celebrations around gay marriage, okay? And I've been to weddings that maybe you would say that I would technically not agree with, okay? And I would say you're right. But that doesn't mean I can't celebrate what goodness is happening, okay? Now, it's so interesting to me that these Salt Lake-based church is so quick to push away and reject people that have different ideas. One of the conversations we had was several people that had been essentially excommunicated from the church. Don't know the full stories, but they are aware that their current ward area, very friendly people, that their ward has been cautioned to avoid them at all costs, right? So they're feeling rejected. It's made them struggle with business opportunities. It's just hard. There's other stories of people that when they've been kicked out of the church or left the church, that their family rejects them. Okay, these are sincere people that have very specific things. These are not people that have gotten kicked out of the church because, I'm maybe misjudging, but there's a difference in like someone that's trying to actively seduce my wife. Okay? Like, I'm not going to associate with you, or actively missionary my children into smoking and drinking, right? Like, if I have somebody, I'm thinking of several people specifically, that we have differences, but when they're with me and my family, they're respectful of my wishes within my home. If they're this type of person, why can't we love them? Okay? Why can't we celebrate what's good about them? Why is it that we have to just completely reject and push away? That's relating along with this Midegah movement. along back to the gay marriage thing, like, I've never heard of a email going out throughout a ward cautioning people to not participate or go and celebrate some kid in the neighborhood that turned out gay and avoid his family and avoid going to his wedding. Probably has happened somewhere. So don't blow me up with the examples, I'm sure, okay? But it's not the norm, okay? It's been around me before, so I know that it's not the norm. In fact, what is the norm is the talk within Relief Societies and Sunday schools that we need to love these people. We need to show compassion, kindness, respect, but still stand firm with what we believe. That's if that discussion goes well. Other times the people are arguing it should change. Okay. Are we avoiding those people? Are we rejecting those people wholesale? Like emails talking, okay? Individuals not knowing how to act, sure. Welcome to the club, okay? I'm somebody that people don't know how to act around sometimes, and they avoid me. I'm cool with that. I understand that. I'm not offended by that. If you're really different, don't be surprised that people don't know how to treat you. Don't be so pearl-clutching offended, okay? So, but that doesn't mean that we can't smile, appreciate what is good, be able to say clearly, I disagree with you about this. Stand firm with who we are, stand true to ourselves, but allow them the room and the kindness to be them. And hopefully, if they treat us with respect and they don't, you know, if you don't want them to missionary you about how the prophet's fallen, just say, hey, I understand you believe that the prophet's fallen. Okay? I don't. I'd rather not hear the arguments. Can we be friends? Can you respect me? I can respect you. It's a way to shut it down. If they choose to not respect you, well, then okay, that's a different story. We're not dealing with someone that can have proper respect. Why do we need to give them proper respect? Don't worry about it now. Okay, so Midegah, the whole point of this, so my church friends, I've been lecturing for a while. He comes to our conference and we pearl clutch because he was upset. Why was he upset? If you've ever had a situation where you deserve respect and not given respect, it's infuriating, okay? I've had this experience personally, so maybe this is why I'm a little more compassionate to it. But remember his perspective. He is representing a nation, a tribal nation that, like it or not, guys, we are standing upon their shoulders. The book that we proclaim is their story. Like, we should be showing them profound amounts of respect. I'm comfortable with that. Now, he's coming as a messenger that is seeking to unite these tribes and to show them that they are God's people and that he wants them to be shown proper respect. Just imagine that you have some big family gathering and President Nelson is going to come to your family gathering and you're telling them, hey, like, my prophet, my leader is coming with me, or whatever, and you go and your family gathering like doesn't save him a seat. That hurts, okay? Like, and in fact, they close the doors and they say you're not welcome. Sorry, it's uncomfortable. It's really disappointing that we did that. I'm comfortable with the fact that we struggled. Midegah was pissed. Sorry. Probably just offended somebody because I said that word. Okay, we're all different, but respect me like we have difference. Okay, it's okay. So he's not feeling respected from the church, and the church doesn't know how to treat him, especially now. Okay, if you go listen to that 8-day gathering, and I encourage you to do that. I'm a believer that you need to study the scriptures well enough to have a testimony, to understand your position, and be open to be challenged. I do not believe in a paternal gospel that we are just going to protect you. I do not believe that. I think that if you're relying on someone else to protect you and guide you constantly, you are on the side of idol worship and deceit. Okay, the lessons God gave to Israel are relevant. There's a lot of lessons that are warning against these types of attitudes, and we take them in as our identity. Very problem filled. Okay, so Midegah, this message that he has, this vision that he has potential. Okay. So if you agree with the points of position that he has doctrinally, by all means join, lean forward. That's how the fruits will manifest. Somebody that doesn't see them that way, myself, I'm going to stand back and watch. And I'm going to give you the council in Jerusalem, not the council, sorry. There was another council, Sanhedrin, talking about what to do with the Christians. And there was a man that stood up and said, hey, if it's of God, it's going to go somewhere. If it's not, it's going nowhere. I think that's fair. I'm anxiously and eagerly watching. I do believe that whether or not this is the movement, I'm not sure. But I do believe that this is the time. I believe that potentially from this movement could distill the truth and a unity within the remnant that does start the movement forward. We are very fast approaching the time that it's interesting. I've heard people say that we are the ones. Actually, it was a talk in that conference that it's up to us to establish Zion that makes the opportunity for Christ to come. This is partially true. The Isaiah talks about, in its time I will hasten it. And we talk about hastening the work. This is the idea that we must prepare the place for the Messiah, must prepare the environment that allows the growth for the return of the Savior. Now that's true, but it's not the full story, because there's also a time. Now, just like a child being born, there's going to come a time that, like it or not, here I come. Period. And you better have the baby room ready, because it's coming, and it's coming fast and hard, and it's going to be violent. That's the metaphor, guys. We have been given an opportunity to hasten the work and receive the Messiah before. Joseph Smith God was not playing tricks and playing games with Joseph, like, oh, if you live to 80, no, that was a statement of fact. In other words, if, as a people, my people, if we would have listened well enough, if we would have embraced truth well enough, the prophet would have lived to 80. And guess who would have been joining us? Jesus. Zion would have been established. He would have hastened it. The Jews have had the same opportunity. We had our opportunity. They've had their opportunity. I believe this is manifest through them having the red heifer ordinance. It's just up to them to perform it. Why are they not rising up in obedience to what they have? Big question there. So, yeah, we could have had the hastening, but we rejected it. We've passed all the exits in my mind. Potentially. I reserve the right to be wrong. But there is going to come a time when the Messiah will come, and there will be great destruction. cities will be emptied. It's super sad. But it is, at the time of a cleansing like that, it is our individual positions and our individual connection and walk with God that will be the only thing that preserves us. Your food storage will do you no good if you are not connected with God. There's going to be plenty of food storage laying around if it's up to if the way that I see it is right. But I strive to do some food storage, right? Like probably more than most, because it's an obedience thing to me. What's the signal I'm showing God? I'm showing God that you spoke, older prophets than now, but spoke clearly, can't argue. And are you going to obey or not? It seems to me good, so I obey. So let's give this movement room to grow. Allow Midegah and his followers the room to make mistakes, but the grace to understand that those mistakes can be made right through the atonement of Christ. He makes all the difference. Stop thinking that things have to be perfect. But my perspective is you're also not under a requirement to join in if it's not aligning with you. But on the other hand, if it's aligning with you, join in. Let the fruits manifest. I'm comfortable with that. I'm encouraging you of that, and I'm going to be fascinated to see it. That was a lot longer than my other attempt, but I think that's a lot more complete. Sorry to be so rambling. Feel free to comment. Man, thank you for your time. God bless.